Does it seem as if you're going nowhere? Unless you have a compass, you may not know the direction you're moving. The features are the same: east, west, north or south. A four-wheel drive is required to negotiate this rugged terrain. The more northerly you move, the harder life becomes. After a grueling 2-day road journey from Nairobi, you reach Lake Turkana. This is the world's largest permanent desert lake and the fourth largest alkaline lake in the world. The lake is the lifeline to 6 nomadic pastoral communities, otherwise the expansive desert terrain would have been uninhabitable. The place is so isolated, such that it becomes a sudden change to find oneself in Loyangalani town after passing through a barren and rocky terrain. By ordinary Kenyan standards, Loyangalani may not qualify as a town, but a rural village shopping center. Here, the inhabitants call it a town, perhaps in contrast to a long journey of traversing kilometers of barren terrain. The sudden urban effects creates a relief, just like contrasting the monotony of rural life to that of a major city. The year is 2010, and the Lake Turkana communities gather in Loyangalani town for their cultural festival. The memorable event brought together the 6 nomadic communities in a fashion that make them look like they never ever had conflicts. The nomadic pastoralists here have even mastered the cultural performances of one another, as if they live together peacefully. The now annual event celebrates the region's cultural diversity. Apart from entertaining the tourists and guests in attendance, they achieve another objective, that of bridging cultural differences occasioned by the competition for scarce resources that normally put them in conflict. Though by looking at them, you may not make distinct differences between them based on their attire or dressing style, they are in fact inherently, culturally and geographically diverse. But what is it that causes conflicts among these nomadic pastoralists? Cultural differences or lifestyle? Well, yes. This is a true picture of life that the pastoralists face. The 6 communities living around Lake Turkana are nomadic pastoralists. Political and administrative boundaries may exist, but to the pastoralists, pasture boundaries do not exist. As a result of this hostile environment, survival is a primary concern for these communities, who more often than not find themselves crossing into each other's territories. Given the scarce water resources and the cattle grazing pastures, there is a fierce competition for the same. Relations are generally volatile, always tending to war. Thus, the true cause of their conflicts being competition for these scarce natural resources. Cultural festivals may be one of the external efforts outside their traditional conflict resolution strategies. However, each of the pastoral communities has its own ways of peaceful coexistence with others, but still they find themselves in conflict once so often. The Samburu is a nomadic pastoral community inhabiting Samburu, Laikipia and Marsabit districts. They are plain Nilotes and closely related to the Maasai. According to oral history, they were originally known as Loibokineji, the people of white goats. They were later to acquire the name Samburu from the Laikipia Maasai, which they derived from the leather bag carried by their women, then known as Sambor. Drought forces the Samburu to move their livestock into distant pastures, where they are compelled to encounter their potential neighboring enemies. After a conflict, the Council of Elders come together to discuss and possibly agree to meet the opponents at a joint forum. The Turkana is the largest among the 6 nomadic pastoral communities. With a population of close to 1 million, according to the 2009 census, the Turkana are eastern Nilotes believed to have originated from North Africa across the Red Sea. The Turkana community derives their livelihood from keeping cattle, goats and sheep. The Turkana land is predominantly dry and faced with regular droughts. This makes the community find itself in endless conflicts with its neighbors. The conflicts are caused by livestock raids, competition for pastures, and watering points. The Turkana also admit carrying out retaliatory missions on the offending community to recover their livestock and kill an equal number of victims from amongst the opponents. In its efforts to resolve the conflicts, the government involves elders from the warring community sides in the region for successful resolution of the disputes between them. The Rendile are Cushitic-speaking people inhabiting the Kaisut Desert. They are semi-nomadic pastoralists, keeping goats and camels, and they move 2 or 3 times a year. They are confined to the desert because their most treasured livestock, the camel, cannot survive in cold mountainous environment. Due to their expansive arid land, the Rendile are always moving beyond their territory, looking for watering points and greener pastures. They too, like other neighboring communities, find themselves in disagreement with other communities attributed to competition for land boundaries, water and pasture. Endless fights with the Gabra are Rendile's greatest nightmare. In conflict resolution, the Rendile have traditional mechanisms coupled with government administrative arms. A number of churches and non-governmental organizations are also involved in constant campaigns for peaceful coexistence for this community with their neighbors. The Gabra are Cushitic people who live as camel-herding nomads mainly in the Chalbi Desert. They are part of the larger Oromo community group living in Ethiopia. Their territory stretches from Kalacha through North Hor down to Gas, Galasa Oasis. The Gabra graze over the expansive Chalbi Desert, especially on the mountains and oases. Sometimes they overlap into neighboring territories in search of pasture and water. Conflict with neighboring groups is also a frequent occurrence, provoked by stock theft or raiding by neighboring communities, especially the Turkana. The conflicts sometimes last for as long as 3 months before ceasefire. Though, as they would say, that the fighting is usually provoked by neighbors, the Gabra, more often than not, also organize revenge missions to make up for their losses or recover their stolen livestock. Whenever there is a conflict, the Council of Elders engages the local chief and the area councillor in finding a solution. The Dasanach community inhabits the north end of Lake Turkana. They are found in Ethiopia, Kenya and Sudan. Traditionally, they are pastoralists, but today they have turned to agro-pastoralism, growing sorghum, maize, pumpkin and beans. The El Molo community is the smallest of the Kenyan communities. They live on the shores of Lake Turkana, and their only occupation is fishing.
They are one of the indigenous communities here in the line.
Although very poor, they live a relatively peaceful life due to their small numbers and lifestyle that does not expose them to competition with other larger nomadic communities. Since conflicts arise from competition for basic needs, efforts of conflict resolution from within these communities sometimes hit a rock. True to Charles Darwin's theory, this is due to survival for the fittest way of life resulting from the harsh environmental conditions these communities find themselves in. External agents of change have come up with strategies that involve the communities to work together to find common activities that help foster relations among them. New opportunities and talents are created whose exploitation eases tension and competition for grazing pastures.
I know that life is not always peaceful in this area, and there are many reasons for the different tribes to fight over each other. And we want to organize this festival because we think it's a good opportunity for the 6 different tribes living here to work together, to have a common objective in what they do. This region could attract a lot more tourists than it does at the moment. It has a great potential for tourism. The culture of the people living here is unique, and this culture, the traditions, the cultural heritage should be known beyond this region and should be known beyond Kenya.
As agents of peace join hands for peace strategies, more efforts are required, especially from the government, for the peace mission to succeed and a lasting solution to the conflicts found.
As I do peace events, this is another second thing that the cultural event brings understanding among the community and among the people, among the international bodies, to see that also we value our culture, and when people sharing culture from different communities, there is harmony that people share together. And this is something that it should be practiced all over the country. This area needs a lot of attention from our own people from the country and also outside this country. Developments needs in this place, whereby we need to empower the community.
These Turkana women, adorned in their traditional attire, specialize in carrying luggage for the tourists. This time round, they are not carrying water or luggage to look for pasture, an opportunity that did not exist before. Others will escort the tourists to show them where the hotels are, and in this way, they will not think of the Gabras who raided them the other day. Display of cultural items is another activity the communities do during the festival. This time they are not making the items for their daily use, but they will be making them to earn a living. This is another opportunity created to occupy them while earning, instead of walking for long distances in search of pasture and probably clashing with other communities. Do these players look like nomadic pastoralists? No, they look like other sports people. you cannot tell which communities they come from. They have found a new relationship as a result of dynamism of culture. Maybe, if they excel, they will not be looking for pastures and be in conflict with other communities, but they will be in the limelight for national and international competitions. And is this wrestling made in Loyangalani? It is neither for title nor professionalism, but a pastime sport that will make a Gabra who does not see eye to eye with a Boran have a reason for interaction. Even the elderly will not be organizing their Morans for a raid or counter-raid, but they will be strategizing on how to raid the territory of their opponents in the Bao game, a non-life-threatening activity.
We've got so many rock engravings in this area. So while before they hunt,
this Samburu young man could have been planning a retaliatory attack on the Rendile, who might have raided them earlier on. But he finds himself hosting and educating a combination of tourists and knowledge seekers in their quest for information on this 2,000-year-old rock. The rock art has evidence that the 6 communities around here had engravings of their animals. The researchers may be having more diverse knowledge than him, but due to his strategic placement, an opportunity arises for him to earn a living. This way, his community will be -1 prospective raider. Combine him with 2 or 3 others and a backing from the government, and there you are. Would-be livestock raiders of their communities would instead be raiding knowledge for more information on this rock art engraving. The history of migration says that the place was inhabited from the 6th century AD.
I think this kind of activity, if it is extended and at the same time the government chips in some money, it will make a source of income for these people. It will be a tourism center. It will attract the tourists to come over this way, and at the same time it will make people to know that there is a specific tribe which is existing in specific areas.
And with the new constitution advocating for counties benefiting from the assets of their jurisdiction, the Loyangalani Desert Museum, officially opened in 2008, may in future be a major contribution to the development of the Turkana County. This may create more opportunities for the people of this region and lasting peace. The National Museums of Kenya, as the custodian of the nation's cultural and natural heritage, supports the cultural activities of these communities, not only as mandated by law, but as a corporate social responsible citizen of this country. With proper planning and government creating opportunities, this region can be transformed from a security liability to a cultural asset.